Hey there, I'm Avip. Welcome to the audiobook of my fanfic, Muitiverse Crafter. I don't own RWBY or any of its characters. This is a non-profit fan project made just for fun and shared for free. All rights belong to their original creators. Before we start, I want to let you know that since I'm not fluent in speaking English yet, the narration is AI generated. I hope you still enjoy the story and the world I've created. Thanks for listening.
Point of view, Weiss. I couldn't follow half of what he said, but I understand the impossibility of perpetual energy. If what he said was true, Jaune Arc had in his hands the greatest invention of all time. A source of energy independent of dust, perpetual, generating 3 gigajoules per second. Which leads me to the following question. And is that a lot? John stared at me incredulously, with my ignorance. It's not my fault, as in my position as the heir of the Schnee Dust Company. I had classes on the basics of dust application in civilian use, but I am still specialized in finance and politics. Engineering was not exactly a priority for my father. Arc began to eat one of his sandwiches while murmuring with closed eyes. He seemed to be doing mental calculations. Beacon on average consumes something like 1 million lean per month, he informed me after devouring his first sandwich. How do you know that? Professor Goodwitch told me. Why would she provide you such information? I know the professor trains him in private lessons, but this doesn't seem like a topic to be addressed in aura training. If you have a perfect system where there is no waste of energy, the boy continued, ignoring my question. With this arc reactor, you could power 1,200 beacon academies. He punctuated the sentence by eating another sandwich. It can't be. That invention represents a loss of more than 1 billion lean for the SDC? No. John said it was perpetual. This loss would be 1 billion lean per month. The presence of one of these reactors in any one of the kingdoms of Remnant represents in the short term the end of the SDC's monopoly and its bankruptcy in the long term. What do you want, Arc? My voice came out harsher and more desperate than I would like to admit. The boy replied, licking his fingers after devouring his second sandwich. I am willing to provide you with everything I can as the heiress of the Schnee Dust Company, and whatever is beyond my reach, rest assured I will be your spokesperson when dealing with my father and the investors. I have no. I need Jaune Arc on my side. Apparently, he has no idea what he carries with him. Anything? He asked curiously. Yes, everything I can provide you will be yours. Could you answer me 2 questions before considering your proposal? He pointed 2 fingers at me as he ate his third sandwich. Questions? What does this brute want to know? The SDC does not have a good reputation when it comes to dealing with employees, especially if they are faunus. He went straight to the point, unafraid to stick his finger in the wound. Well, rest assured that the SDC strictly follows the laws of the realms when dealing with its employees. I guarantee that no infractions are committed in our mines and factories. That's not the issue, Weiss. John finished and took a sip of his juice before continuing. Can you tell me that the SDC is a moral and ethical company in the treatment of its employees? Especially the faunus? My training took over me, and I gave the protocol response. The SDC submits to the laws and authority of the kingdoms where it conducts its operations. John furrowed his brows and looked at me with disgust. Don't give me that media-trained bullshit. I want to know your opinion. His voice was louder and more intense than usual, making his presence weigh on my body. Is this the same boy who a few hours ago had detonated a stink bomb while covered in meat grease? I want to know about Weiss Schnee as a person, not the heiress girl propaganda bullshit. John finished speaking, stood up from the table, and punched it forcefully. The table shook under the weight of his fist. I've never seen John like this. So intense, so imposing, so strong and mature. I'm waiting, Snow White. His tone was determined and dry. He had 0 emotions. I took a deep breath to try to calm down, but without thinking, I replied, the SDC strives to do the minimum not to break the law. As soon as I finished speaking, I felt my body weighed down by guilt. This was what I knew and what I was trained to deflect attention from. Time and money are spent through lobbyists to influence legislation and government policies in favor of the SDC. This was the kind of thing I kept in the back of my mind, that I tried to forget so I could sleep at night without remorse. And now, admitting all of this out loud made my heart ache. But I need to continue. John's invention is too dangerous to fall into the hands of our competitors. I closed my eyes and continued, my body trembling. I have never witnessed it, but it is not incorrect to assume that bribes were used to pass inspections aimed at investigating mistreatment of employees. Still with my eyes closed, I swallowed hard to continue, especially if they are faunus. Something wet and warm fell on the back of my hand. A tear? Another drop fell onto my lap, but this time I felt it running down my cheek. Am I crying? It seems like you needed to get that out. Still standing, he moved away from the table and walked toward me. I closed my eyes and turned to the side, trying to hide from his disapproving gaze. Weiss. He called me, but I tried to ignore him. Look at me now, Schnee. His commanding voice made me open my eyes in his direction. I looked at John, expecting to find contempt, disgust, and revulsion, but all I could see on his face was tenderness and compassion. Tears flowed silently down my face, marking a salty and bitter path. My heart felt clenched in an unrelenting fist of guilt and shame. It's okay. Now his voice was soft and gentle. He placed a hand on my shoulder and then knelt on one knee, looking me in the eyes, and continued to speak. It's important to me that you're honest about SDC sins. The last statement sparked a glimmer of hope in me, relieving me a little from the pain of guilt and shame. Which brings me to the second question. I wiped away my tears using one of the napkins on the table, took a deep breath, and tried to compose myself. Do you want to change this? Duh. I stammered incredulously. What was he talking about? Do you, Weiss-Schnee, want to change this? The way the SDC treats its low-level employees, the discrimination and exploitation of the faunus? Do you accept the mission to change the company using your position as heiress and future CEO? They're just animals. Why should we care about their rights? My father's voice begins to echo in my mind. We're doing them a favor by employing those filthy beasts. Do I have a choice? If we provide better conditions for these riffraffs, we'll bankrupt the company. Could I go against my father? The interests of the investors come first. Correct the mistakes of the SDC? This company owes everything to me. I wouldn't need to deceive myself or feel ashamed anymore. Nicholas was a pathetic fool. Should I oppose my father? Don't be useless like your mother or ungrateful like your sister. Yes. I screamed with tears running down my face once again, but this time with a determined look, a proud smile on my lips. I held John with both hands and declared aloud, I accept. Clang. The situation was intense, and we hadn't noticed that one of the waiters had opened the door on my last sentence. But we certainly noticed when he dropped the tray on the floor. Sorry, I came to SSCIF. He was a nervous wreck. Congratulations, and I'm sorry. The last part he said as quickly as possible. Before we could say anything, he hurried out of the room, slamming the door shut. Why was he so nervous? Was it because I yelled? John murmured as he got up from the floor. It seemed like he was scared and surprised by something. What could he have seen to cause such surprise? Could it be? Oh no. He saw me on one knee facing you. John began. Oh no. And you were crying with happiness, saying I do and all that. Oh no. Maybe that looked like a marriage proposal? Shut up, Arc. Point of view, Jaune Arc. After telling me to shut up and drowning her sorrows by stealing and eating my sweets, Weiss finally calmed down. I explained to her the mechanics of my semblance, how I create something temporary and permanent. I didn't use the term magic with her because I didn't feel like revealing half of Oshpin's secrets. And how many points would you need to create a functional arc reactor? Muitiverse crafting system. This will cost 50,000 magic points. Magic, 9.3 points. Aura, 100%. 50,000 points. That doesn't sound like much. That's around 25 million lean in dust. Oh, yep. From inside her jacket, Weiss pulled out 2 vials of green dust. This is the type of dust I use the least. It's plant dust. Plant? I know that dust is ultimately a form of magic, but this is getting too weird. They're grade 4. She pushed the 2 vials toward me. I would like you to use them to create something for me. It can be small, but I want it to be something incredible enough to get my father's attention. Do I need to use all the points? Just give me something groundbreaking, and you can do whatever you want with the rest. Nice, I could upgrade my equipment. I took the 2 vials, and the window of my semblance appeared instantly. Multiverse crafting system. Dust detected. Would you like to absorb it? Magic, 9.3 points. Aura, 100%. As soon as I confirmed the absorption process, a thought popped into my mind. When I absorbed grade 2, it felt like someone stepped on my hand. What will it be like with grade 4? Especially 2 at once. Maybe I should have paid more attention to this detail before falling to my knees while my arm veins glowed neon green. I'm an idiot, I said while coughing on my knees.
Jaune.
Weiss knelt beside me. I'll go get help. No. I shouted more to release the pain than to get her attention. This is normal, it will pass. My arm muscles felt like they were on fire, and my nerve endings seemed to be pierced by hot needles. The pain began to spread to the rest of my body, but it didn't decrease in intensity in my arms. In fact, it seemed to get worse. My vision started to blur and I lost strength in my abdomen, falling forward. Arg. I fell to the ground, only saved from face-planting by supporting myself with my forearms. Now I was on all fours on the floor, sweating, trembling, and groaning in pain while one of the most influential girls on the planet was staring at me in terror. The only good thing is that it can't get any worse. Jorg, my shoe. Unless I vomit. After vomiting, the pain began to ease, and in a few seconds, my vision started to return to normal. As soon as I got up, I noticed that Weiss was looking at me horrified. Does this happen every time you absorb dust? I've never absorbed grade 4 before. I got up, feeling dirty. Multiverse crafting system. What would you like to do? Magic, 1009.3 points. Aura, 100%. Sorry. For what? Weiss stared at me as if surprised by my question. For causing you so much pain and making you vomit. Weiss was concerned about me, and she also seemed embarrassed. Grade 4 dust is not something that anyone can acquire. Even trainee hunters don't have contact with that kind of power. She's eager to take responsibility for her mistakes. That's something I hadn't noticed in the series. Is she different here, or am I just an idiot who didn't pay attention to the original show? Hee. Seriously, the chance of me not paying attention and her being different here is also quite high. Do you need anything? A glass of water. Maybe a painkiller?
Damn.
You're really worried after my vomiting? Dare I be a jerk and take advantage of this moment of vulnerability to ask for something? Give me more dust. Priorities. You want more? She's offering candy, and she's surprised the kid wants more? I nodded affirmatively to her. You must be insane or a complete idiot to ask for more after what happened. Why not both? I replied, smiling like an idiot. Jaune Arc.
Huh.
Weiss sounds like a mother calling me by my full name.
Wait.
Is my middle name Romy? I can give you more.
Yay.
After we change rooms, and you take off that filthy clothes. Oh my gosh, Weiss. I exclaimed, pretending to be outraged. What did I say? It's bad luck to see the groom's body before the wedding. Bring up marriage or engagement again in my presence, and I'll encase you in a block of ice.
Ouch.
Are we clear? The icy and serious tone of her voice clarified that her threat was no joke. Despite having the shield, I would rather not turn into a capsicle. And Weiss was looking at me with the fury of a spoiled girl whose purse had been insulted. Yes, ma'am. Very well. Now go clean yourself up, vomit boy.
Huh.
I got that reference. I hadn't intended to gain the reputation of vomit boy, but with these extra magic points, I can plan my road trip to Menagerie. Point of view, Weiss. As I went to a new VIP room, John headed to the staff restroom to freshen up and change his clothes. John tried to explain what had happened in the room, but the manager cut him off, saying he didn't need to justify himself because customer privacy was their priority. This attitude was both a relief and concerning. After all, what kind of business was conducted in this place? I'm here. I'll score a penalty. Speaking of concerning behavior, Arc's mocking voice announced his presence before he even finished opening the door. Let's talk about the extra dust that you... I was cut off in the middle of my sentence by the sight that graced my eyes. John only needed to change his dirty t-shirt, so it shouldn't have surprised me to see the apprentice huntsman wearing different clothes. What surprised me was John's physique. The sight left me speechless. The tight white button-up shirt seemed tailor-made to accentuate every contour of his muscles. Every time he moved, the fabric of the shirt struggled to contain the strength beneath, and I couldn't help but imagine what it would be like to touch him, to feel the firmness of his skin against mine. I apologize for the barfing, but at least our meeting can't get any worse, right? Right, I replied automatically, not registering what he had said to me. He sat in front of me and began talking and smiling at me, and I found myself missing details of the conversation because my thoughts were entirely focused on him. The way his sleeves stretched over his defined arms was almost hypnotic, and I found myself wishing that I were responsible for making those buttons give way, releasing all that contained tension. On the day of initiation, I had talked to him, and at the time, he could barely fill out a size small tank top. Now he seemed to be bursting out of a size large formal shirt. What happened to you? Unable to control myself, I asked right away. Huh, Arc replied, not understanding me. I went to take a shower, and they gave me this shirt for an extra 5,000 lean on our bill. What a ripoff. No, you fool. I exclaimed, frustrated with the boy. How did you get so? Embarrassed to say it, I just pointed at his biceps. John looked at his arm, not understanding what I was referring to, and it took him almost a minute to grasp my question. How did I get so ripped? He replied, nodding his head in agreement. Port's been training me.
Wow.
I thought he was just getting extra lessons from Professor Port, but surviving the crazy forger seemed to bring quick results. If he's like this after 1 week, imagine what he'll be like after 1 month or even a year. So, can you please give me more dust? Yes, of course. I picked up 4 more grade 4 green dust vials. With a greedy smile on his face, John reached out to grab the vials. If what you're going to do for me surprises me, I said, pulling my hand away, and if you promise not to vomit. John scowled at my proposal but nodded in agreement to my terms. I'll absorb 1 at a time. That way I can better withstand the pain. What would you like me to do? It can be something simple, but preferably something that can be reproduced on a large scale. John leaned on the table and stared intensely. Despite looking in my direction, he seemed to be gazing at something in front of him with his eyes. How about a substitute for dust? Incredulous, I stared at the boy. Like the arc reactor? Much less powerful and much cheaper. Okay, let's suppose what you're saying is true. Stay calm, Weiss. It's impossible that this buffoon has something that could disrupt the dust industry. Could you explain to me what you mean by much cheaper? Without any warning, a golden mist appeared on the table, materializing a strange rectangular board, and I saw a series of bright rectangles made of a dark material lined up on the board, which should be the size of a small book. I made it small because the technology is what matters most. And what is it? A solar panel. All right, and what does a solar panel do exactly? It absorbs solar energy and converts it into electricity. I blinked in astonishment at how calmly and indifferently he proposed such a simple absurdity. I looked at the solar energy panel, and suddenly, everything fell into place. Furthermore, I realized that this technology had the potential to completely revolutionize the energy industry. The idea of capturing solar energy so directly and cleanly was simply incredible. I could envision a future where we wouldn't be so dependent on dust, where we could power our homes and businesses sustainably. It was as if I had found a key piece that would help me become the next CEO of the SDC. I imagine such revolutionary technology cost you at least 1,000 points. It cost me 50 points. That was very little. With 25,000 lean, you could barely buy a hunter-level weapon, and with that amount, John had created a revolution. I need to take this to my father. You're going to be a wealthy man, John. He. And how much will you make from this? Does he think I'll make money from his invention? I won't make anything, John. My proposition for this partnership is for you to provide me with these inventions to help me gain influence within the SDC. So, the more inventions you bring, the more influential you become? You're oversimplifying a bureaucratic political process within one of the largest companies in all 4 kingdoms, but it's clear that the more, the better. Once again, a golden mist took over the table, this time producing 2 things. The first was a white windmill attached to a metal box with a box on top. The second looked like a miniature dam. This here is a model of wind energy. Arc finished speaking, approaching the windmill, and as he blew on it, the lamp on the metal box lit up. And this here is a model of hydroelectric energy. To explain, he poured water into the back of the dam, and the model lit up inside. Wind and water-generated energy were not new, but his designs were highly advanced, as if a civilization had invested decades in renewable energy sources. Why did you make so many when I only asked for 1? This is relatively cheap, and the more, the better. Yes, actually that's great. I can tell my father and the board that I'm making connections and meeting with a young genius capable of creating technological wonders. Oh, going with the fear tactic? Maybe someone invents something that could break the SDC. Yes, I exclaimed unintentionally. And that's why it's more prudent for us to hire him before any competitor does. I felt electrified. This was perfect. If my father didn't take me seriously, I could still instill fear in the board and bend his will. Now, pass the dust. Well, Jaune Arc is a greedy man, the kind of man who's easy to deal with. I handed him the 4 vials I had promised and an additional case with 10 grade 4 earth dust. John looked at me suspiciously, but took all the vials. 10 extra? Our agreement is for you to give me only 1 item, I explained to the blonde boy, getting up and walking over to him. But you've gone above and beyond to help me, reducing your profit. So what? And so, Jaune Arc, in the business world, you're an idiot. Hey! Exclaimed John, standing up indignantly. But that also makes you a good person. I extended my hand to John. Besides being your business partner, I'd like to be your friend. In response, John stared at me in silence, with 1 eyebrow raised. I thought we were already friends. I smiled in relief. Jaune Arc was a fool, simple-minded and with 0 aptitude for business, but what mattered most was that he was a good person. Yes, we're friends. Smiling, the blonde boy hugged me and laughed instead of shaking my hand. Normally, I would complain about the brute to put me down, but his happiness was so genuine that I didn't have the heart to scold him, and I will never admit aloud, but those massive arms pressing me against that warm chest gave me a strange sensation in my lower regions. Point of view: Nora Valkyrie. It seemed like John had been ignoring us all week. The only time he paid attention to our team was when he trained with Pyrrha. I understand that he's weaker than a stack of gluten-free pancakes, but he seemed to be constantly studying and training. He woke up when it was still dark and only came back in time to take a shower and go to class. And thank goodness he took a shower, because he came back smelling awful. Pyrrha didn't seem to mind the smell much, and she certainly didn't mind the sight of John panting with a sweaty shirt clinging to his body. Poor thing, the invincible girl, needed to understand that some boys are thick-headed and don't realize when they are the object of a lady's desire. It was painful to see Pyrrha drooling over a childhood friend who had always been there but had never seen her as a romantic partner. What was I thinking? Oh yeah. It seemed like John was ignoring Team JNPR all week, but today he promised to spend the whole day with us. Ladies and gentlemen, who looks like a lady? Our fearless leader shouted while the rest of Team JNPR sat on the couch in front of him. Keep pursuing a career in comedy. It's not for everyone. Huh, I yelled, pointing a finger at the leader, who pretended to be hurt by Ren's comment. It was rare for Ren to engage in insults directed at him, but it was clear from the tone that the two were just joking. I spent the whole week training like crazy, and both Port and Glinda recommended a full day of rest, so we're going to spend the whole day binge-watching movies and eating junk food. John finished speaking, pointing to a table full of snacks, drinks, pies, and cakes. Are we going to spend the whole day watching movies? Ren complained. Food, I exclaimed loudly. He called the teacher by her first name? Pyrrha grumbled, thinking no one would hear her. I jumped straight onto the table, ignoring John's explanation of when and how he installed the TV and speakers that were now in our room. Where did you get these movies?
Pyrrha asked.
They look different from anything I've ever seen. I know a guy, John replied. And because they're so different, let's watch this one first. If you don't like the movie, we can end our marathon. That sounds fair, Ren commented, not very interested. I grabbed as much food as I could with my arms, then handed it to Ren on the couch, and went back to get more and sit next to him. Pyrrha sat down and conveniently left a tight space next to her for John to sit. The leader turned off the lights after placing the strange blue CD in the device connected to the giant 80-inch TV. How did he manage to get this in here by himself? As soon as he sat next to Pyrrha, he hit play. What's the name of this movie? Ren asked, more interested than I expected. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Oh.
Pirates and a curse, I commented, eating a carrot cake. I hope it's good. Point of view, Ren. John turned on the lights as soon as the movie credits appeared on the screen. I admit, I was a little skeptical about a mandatory movie marathon on a Sunday, especially one imposed by our absentee leader. But I was relieved when he gave us the option not to participate in the activity if we didn't like the first movie. And I must say the movie was somewhat satisfying. This is the best movie in the world. Apparently, Nora liked the movie and was rearranging Jaune Arc's ribs in one of her famous bear hugs. Nora, let go of John. I think he can't breathe. Give it a rest, Nikos. This is just a friendly hug. Later, you can ask the leader for a back hug. The movie was fun, filled with action and adventure, despite the dark theme of cursed gold and skeleton pirates. Let go of me, Nora. John huffed, trapped in Nora's Ursa Major squeeze. If you let go of me, we can choose another movie together. Yay, smart boy. Maybe you're one of the few who will survive living with Nora. Who's the buff guy? Nora didn't need even a minute to choose a movie from the pile under the TV. This one's called Conan the Barbarian. This movie is a classic set in a fictional world full of magic, epic battles, and mythology. Although it's much older than Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie is quite epic, with a dark atmosphere and a distinctive visual style. I want to see this one, Pyrrha commented, showing a movie with a couple on the cover at sunset. Another solid choice from the past, this one is The Princess Bride, an adventure, comedy, and romance film. John seemed pleased that we were showing interest in his movies. And Run, would you like to choose one? I'd prefer you to choose one for me. Without thinking, John picked a movie with a black and white cover, featuring what looked like ancient Mistralian warriors. This one is set in a feudal medieval world. The movie tells the story of a group of 7 samurai hired by villagers to protect them from bandits threatening to plunder their crops. John, you can't keep doing this kind of thing, Pyrrha complained. What kind of thing? The rest of the team asked at the same time. It's racist to suggest things that seem to be from Mistral to Rern. Run, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to offend you. I raised my hand, refusing the team leader's apologies. Don't apologize. I notice that you always choose something with a Mistral bias when dealing with me. But he doesn't do it with ill intentions or to exclude me. John does it thinking I might have a preference. So are we good? Yes.
Ha.
I told you he didn't care. Now, let's watch Conan. Nora boasted at Pyrrha's expense. I thought it might be a bit boring to spend the whole day watching movies, but the first one was a pleasant surprise, and this 7 Samurai looks interesting.
I hope you enjoyed my work. If you'd like more, check out the links in the video description. Goodbye for now.